Okay, all right. Welcome, everybody that just joined us, and those who have been joining us since 4 o'clock. Thank you so much for the wait. My name is Raymond, and I'll be your facilitator and moderator for today's session. So first of all, we just want to say a very big thank you to everybody for choosing to be here with us today for this next 90 minutes, right? We have participants from Indonesia, from Singapore, from Malaysia, and this great webinar that you'll be hearing for the next 90 minutes has been graciously hosted and sponsored by QuickDesk, right? And QuickDesk is one of the leading CRM solution providers originally based out of Singapore. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, my name is Ray Chow. I am a fellow entrepreneur myself. I'm the owner of 9 multi-million-dollar companies. But today is not going to be about me. Today we have for you an exciting next 90 minutes, right? And this 90 minutes is going to be pretty exciting with a lot of lessons, a lot of learnings, as we've all committed to going through this journey together with these next 3 entrepreneurs, which I will be introducing to you next, right? So, very quick guidelines here. Just wanted to mention to everybody, this webinar is being recorded, right? So don't worry, we'll not be recording everyone's faces because we can't see your face. We can only see ours, right? So, but just wanted to share with you that this webinar will be recorded and it will be shared on YouTube within the next 24 hours. Now, the second guideline I wanted to mention to everybody is that we will take questions from every one of you guys. Right? So what do you do with regards to asking any questions that you have for the speakers coming on is this. One is that you can ask it in the chat window. Now, if you ask it in the chat window, do us a favor. Make sure that you see at the 2 selection there, all panelists and attendees, right? Or if you see all panelists, that's fine too. When you ask your questions, we will be able to see it, okay? That's the first thing. The second way that you can ask your question, which is the preferred way, is you will notice at the bottom of your Zoom webinar screen, you have a button there called Q&A. All you're going to do is just click on Q&A and then type in your question over there, and we will be able to look at this question, and I'll be moderating it, so I will make sure that your question get answered. So we'll pick as many questions as we can in the 90 minutes that we have. Okay, cool? Right? Okay, good. So that's the guidelines. Now, on top of that, I have 2 simple ground rules as well. Okay, the 2 simple ground rules is first ground rule is that we all made a choice to spend the next 90 minutes in this session. So my ask of you is that next 90 minutes is 90 minutes that we can never take back. So because we cannot take back this session, I ask that we have full presence. Full presence in these next 90 minutes. I know we can be multitasking, and I know that everybody thinks that they're all great multitaskers, but actually, in fact, we all can't multitask, right? So in order for us to take the great lessons that's coming from the next 3 speakers, I ask of you to just have full presence with us here today, okay? The second and the last ground rule, as I mentioned, is to participate. We want as best as possible for this session not to just be a one-way scenario where we just tell you guys or we just share with you guys. If you have any questions, please do put it in the Q&A window or put it in the participants chat. Go ahead and ask questions. I will be watching it to pick out questions that you may have. All right, so please participate together with us. Okay, now to guide you in terms of the first participation, I'm going to test you guys now, right? We're going to be asking you a poll question now. So in a little while, there will be a question that's going to be up on screen. And on the screen, I would like you to answer a few questions before we get started. Okay? All right? So can I get help with the poll question? Okay, so everyone, if you see the poll question in front of you, I would like you to help us to answer it. Only 2 questions. Answer it. The first question is, are you currently selling your products and services locally or globally? And the second question is, if you are only conducting your business locally, do you have any intentions whatsoever to globalize it, right? So do answer a question so that we can kind of get a feel about the audience, right? There's 12 of you who have answered, 14 of you. Oh, this is really exciting, you know. This is like watching the lottery, right? All right, come on. We have 17. go ahead and answer your question so that we, the speakers, can kind of know where is the audience today. I'm going to give you guys a couple of more seconds to put in your answer. All right, a couple more seconds. Another 5 seconds. Another 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, all right. Okay, great. Okay, great. So let us share the results here. Okay, great. So just to share with you guys what the results are, and this is just to open up and just warm up the crowd. So it seems like about half of you guys are doing business locally, another half of you guys are doing both locally and globally. And also, for those of you who are doing locally, there are intentions of going global. That's 86% of you guys. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your participation and thank you for doing that poll. Now, let's get straight to the main event. Okay. Let me introduce to you the 3 speakers who are coming up next. Now, first of all, we have a very special guest here today, all the way from Indonesia, right? I would like to introduce you to Pak Darmono, right? Mr. S.D. Darmono, right? He is the chairman of PT Jababeka. And, Mr. S.D. Darmono is the founder and chairman, and he's one of the biggest integrated industrial township, right? That is a real wow, right? Industrial township developers right there in Indonesia. He founded Jababeka in 1989, and the development extends to over 5,000 hectares, including properties like Tanjung Lesong Resort, Jababeka Cikarang Industrial Park, Morotai, and Kendal Industrial Park, which is a joint venture, by the way, for those of you who are Singaporean. It's a joint venture between the Sembcorp in Singapore. And the company's mission is really to build 100 cities across Indonesia. I want to welcome Pak Darmono to the session here today. Second, we have Mr. Chris Tia. And Mr. Chris Tia is a very notable and successful entrepreneur based in Malaysia. And he is leading one of the most prominent law firms in Malaysia since 2003. He has introduced and successfully incorporated systematic and computerized systems into firms, having established Tia Noordin firms across Malaysia, right? It's really great because, in the world of law, it's very regulated. So for him to be able to do that is really extraordinary. He's also, other than that, ventured into other successful businesses in the petrol station industry, logistics, and also property development, right? Thank you so much, Chris, for being with us here today. Last but not least, right, I would like to introduce you to Miss Charmain Tan, right? Miss Charmain is the founder and CEO of QuickDesk. Charmain herself began her entrepreneurship journey in 2011 when she co-founded the East Gloves industry, which is winter gloves for touchscreen devices, while pursuing her degree in NUS in 2014. Right, so she was a student entrepreneur. Can you imagine that? She founded QuickDesk, which uses education and technology to help businesses and sales professionals drive more sales. Charmain herself has won multiple awards, and most notably, she has made it to the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list for enterprise technology very recently in 2019. And she also made it to Singapore's inaugural Top 100 Women in Tech list in 2020. Right? Welcome, Ms. Charmain, to join us in this session. All right? Okay, great. Thank you very much for coming, speakers. We would like you to come on board the session, and we would like you to start answering questions because we're going straight into question and answer now. I want to welcome the 3 of you guys on board. Hi, Charmain. All right.
Hi.
And we also have Chris and Pak Darmono up on screen as well, so that we can all see you and we can get straight to question and answer.
Hi, Ray. Good afternoon.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Are you able to turn your camera on?
Yeah, I'm turning it on.
Awesome.
You must let me turn on.
Okay, you can't turn on.
I can, yeah.
We stop that. Okay, can we help Chris out?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We can see you now. Okay, Pak Darmono, are you there?
Yes, but I cannot. You said the host has stopped it. So you need to open it for me.
Okay, all right. Can we help Pak Darmono?
That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Okay. Hello, Pak Darmono. How are you?
Fine. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us from Indonesia. Which part of Indonesia are you connecting from, Pak Darmono?
Jakarta.
From Jakarta? Yes. Okay,
Yes.
welcome. And Chris, which part of Malaysia are you joining us from?
yeah, I'm right across the causeway. I'm in Johor Bahru.
Okay. You know, a lot of people say Johor Bahru is part of Singapore anyway. Like, you know, they're so close together. Right? Well,
Yes.
welcome so much, Chris. Welcome so much. And
Yeah.
Charmain, I know this is a silly question, but where are you connecting from?
Singapore.
Okay, awesome. All right. Great. Thank you so much, established speakers, for joining us. Let's get straight down to question and answer. Now, everybody, today's topic is really about understanding the entrepreneurship journey. And we actually have three established entrepreneurs here with us. And all three of them have different journeys. So let's get started with our first question, right? So in your businesses, how did it get started? How did the businesses get started? You know, and why? Why that business? Can we start with you, Pak Darmono?
Okay. Well, my business was started because we saw the opportunity to bring in the foreign direct investment to Indonesia through building an industrial estate. The government was encouraging the private sectors to bring in investors, but investors was having difficulty, even actually possibly today too, to come to Indonesia because Indonesia has got so many varieties of lands, culture. Also, we have central government, provincial government, regional government. So this was an opportunity for us to help government and also help investors to come to Indonesia. So what we did was to ask the government to change the regulation to enable private sector to manage an industrial estate in a manner that we can assure to our customers that we can guarantee the certainty of law, security, safety, and also convenience in doing business.
Wow. You mentioned it involves a lot of changing of policies, right? A lot of different, and when you work with the government, that can seem very like a task that does it require a lot of connections for you to do that?
Yes, it did actually, and also today still the same thing. You know, just a bit of joke. When I went to Macau, I saw that in the top of the logo of the casino is that business is about breaking regulation. So first, if we want to differentiate our business, then we must be able to somehow either ban, change, or influence government to produce certain regulation which is so attractive so that people will invest because almost for sure they will make a lot of profit.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with that part. You know, sometimes, you know, that's what entrepreneurship is, right? It's really about breaking the rules. It's about being abnormal, being something very different, right? I'm going to come back to you, Pak. Let's go to Chris. Chris, what about you? How did the business get started?
Oh, my business got started basically because my father is a lawyer as well. So he started the firm about 40 years ago. And I just follow on through and incorporated more technology into it and then, expanded thereon.
Was it a family business, the company that you are in? Or
you can say, yes, it's a family business. It started as my father, and now he's still sort of working, but mainly I'm running the show for all the branches and everything that goes on in the firm.
Wow. That is very interesting that you mentioned about how you came into the scene and introduced technology. Hold the answer, don't answer yet. I'm going to ask you that question in a little while, okay? Let's go to Charmain now. Charmain, right? You are Forbes 30 under 30. You know, you are obviously, I'm going to be guessing that you are the youngest among the four. I want to say that I'm the youngest, but I know I'm just lying. So yeah, so how did your business get started?
Yeah, okay. So QuickDesk started because of my first business. In my first business, I invented winter gloves for touchscreen devices when I was working and studying in Sweden. And I realized one very interesting thing. First, it's schools doesn't teach how people how to drive more sales. So I was thinking, how can I help my business to in my first business to drive more sales? And when I looked around me, I saw a lot of businesses, they have great products. But even though they have great products, they cannot sell. And I realized there's two things that could really help. One, education. And two, technology. Especially because when I built winter gloves, it was a global product. We really need technology to help us to promote our products globally. So realizing a lot of businesses suffered from the lack of the most important thing, which is bloodline, which is revenue. I started thinking, how can I use education and technology to help businesses to drive sales? And that's the birth of QuickDesk.
Wow. But that's a very big jump, right, Charmain, from winter gloves to a technology business and a software business. Why that jump? Did you stop winter gloves and go into this? Or what is the quick story there?
I think I asked myself when the technology changed from touchscreen it used to be like something that you need a normal glove, and technology changed. So normal gloves now work with your touchscreen devices. And because of that, I asked, what is that one thing I would have done differently? And the answer was sales. Because even though we patented our product, it was as good as how much sales we can get. So that one question led me to really deep dive into the problem of what's causing people to not drive enough sales. What can I do with education and technology to help drive that?
Awesome. So I guess it goes back down what you're saying in the entrepreneurship world is sales, right? No matter how good your product is, if nobody buys it, right, then that is your business will be gone, right? So everything is really about sales. Yeah, it's a really great lesson. So if anyone caught that, that's already a couple of lessons there already, right? It's just in the last 10 minutes, okay? Okay, let's go a little bit deeper now, everyone. I'm going to ask the next question here. So every one of you guys have been through probably different journeys. I'm going to start with Pak Darmono first. Pak Darmono, what is the greatest challenge in business that you have faced? And how did you overcome that?
The biggest challenge is, of course, the uncertainty of the change of the market. So this we have to adopt quickly how to meet the customer's demand, and also because of that, there are so many implications that we have possibly to lobby government to get the new favorable regulation. But it could be that we have to retrain our staff to learn a new technology. Yeah, so the uncertainty is really like today, when we suddenly are struck by the pandemic, and then there is the also 4.0 technology. So these are all things, in my experience, has been the most challenging thing when we meet this sudden disruption, change of weather, change of government policy, change of the global political situation. So these are the most difficult challenges we have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the uncertainty is so real, right? Because we don't know, we can't predict the future. Obviously, I think all entrepreneurs wish for this machine we can plug in here, and then we can predict the future and tell, oh, what's going to come in the year 2022, 23, right? Then we go and know what to do, right? But uncertainty, I hear you, but that we just don't know. But how then, right? But how do we go through so many of these challenges not knowing the certainty? How about you? How did you go through that? How do you overcome that?
Number one, you must have faith, because faith creates reality. If you have no conviction, no faith in your journey to be successful, then you are doomed. So faith is very important. There is the saying that if your faith is just a big of a seed of mustard, you can move a mountain. Have you heard that one?
Yes.
So that is the one, how to to face all the difficulties ahead.
Yeah, awesome. It reminds me of the, like what you said, right? Faith as small as a mustard seed. And sometimes you just have to trust, right? And have this belief. And belief is having faith, right? Thank you so much. That resonates a lot with me. Charmain, what about you? What was the biggest challenge that you have had in your businesses?
I actually wrote the same word, faith. So it's interesting that Darmono said the same thing. But I really echoed that, right? So for me, the greatest challenge was building this tech company with zero tech background. I'm not computer science trained, so I really know nothing about technology. I mean, I had the ideals to build this company using technology, but I was idealistic, right? So having to build the software. So when I lost my tech team initially in 2015, that's about 5-6 years ago, I was really lost because I was left to continue the product with zero tech experience. We were with agencies and things just not working out. And really it's a very steep learning curve to learn it. I became my own tech lead. If there's one thing that really helped me to add on the word on faith, it's actually greed and resilience. How do you fight and overcome that challenge with one belief and one know, which is knowing the why. Like, why are we doing this in the first place? So I always think that as long as the why is clear, the vision, the mission is clear, it's easier to overcome it because you suddenly become very resourceful. Like suddenly I had a lot of mentors that I could get to really help me overcome that tough 4 months.
Wow. So I guess, from Partner Mono and yourself, I think faith is very important, the belief that you have. But I think what you have just said is really having the power to stay on, right? You mentioned the word grit, right? And grit is very important, right? No matter, is what you're trying to say is that no matter what happens, we just have to believe, have faith, and just stay on the course, right? Thanks for sharing that. What about you, Chris? What was your greatest challenge in your business?
Yeah, over the years, I think my greatest challenge would be to stick to my long-term goals. And sometimes I think the hardest lesson that I ever gained was to lose things for me to gain. Why do I say that? Sometimes between businesses, a lot of people, they want to gain every way, so they don't like to share. So a lot of things they don't share. They will be so calculative. They want to, do everything. Then they will expect something in return. But for all these years, I learned that I try to share with my friends and partners, and I don't. I try to tell myself not to be calculative, and see it in the long term. If my friends are working with me, I try to put in as much effort as I can to help each other. And this is actually easier said than done. A lot of people say that, but it's very hard to practice because when you want to put in effort, at the back of your mind, you will think, why should I put in so much effort and all that? But to me, I feel that sometimes it's not about that short-term gain. It's that long-term relationship that you foster. It will go a long way. And then people do appreciate it. So along the journey, I found a lot of good friends and a lot of good partners. As much as I try to help, even though there's no businesses, at the end of the day, they still come back to me and I can go back to them for advice. So I think for entrepreneurs in this day and era, of course, everything, you can put a value to it. But sometimes I think friendship is something that you cannot put a value to it. And sometimes a lot of help comes along, and I really do appreciate it. So I think for long-term goals, we must know what is it about, and then we work towards it. And of course, then we apply the dedication of Darmono and Charmain has mentioned. I think that is very important as well. If you don't stick to the goal, you'll never reach it.
Yeah. You remind me of something my mentor once said to me many years ago. He says, never piss anyone off. Don't create enemies, right? Because, somebody that you piss off today may be a potential client tomorrow and you would have lost the deal just because you did something bad in the past. So I resonate and I relate to you about, you know, a lot of things in sales. It's really about relationship, right? No matter where you are. And I'm sure, right? Like even Darmono, as he's going through, trying to get policies changed and things like that, it is a relationship that has helped him, right? For Charmain as well, it's the relationship of being able to build, to get some help from some of her new mentors and rebuilding her tech team. Everything is about relationships. So thanks so much for sharing that, Chris. Let me follow up another question with you, Chris. So I read from your profile that you're not only a lawyer, you also have other businesses. So what area of law do you practice, Chris?
I do mostly property. The law relating to properties.
Okay, so mainly property law. So what made you decide to venture? I know one of the poll questions we asked is about globalization, right? So what made you decide to venture out of Malaysia and not to do law, but also to do property development in Indonesia?
Okay, this is a very interesting journey that I took on. In fact, I of course, one of my partner is Pak Johnny. So I think he's in the group, in the chat now. So I got to know Pak Johnny as a friend. Then after that, he introduced me Andre, my good friend Andre. And then they start introducing and go into this project in Jababeka. That's what Darmono is developing. So we went into Kedah Industrial. So Kedah Industrial is a joint venture between Sembcorp and Jababeka. And I thought that that is a very good ground and very good project where it's a joint venture with Singapore as well. So the way I see it is property development is about taking risk and a leap of faith. It's a lot of leap of faith. But with the strong support from Jababeka and Singapore side, I have complete confidence, and of course, working together, it has been quite a good journey. So we are still doing the property development in Indonesia. So barring the fact that now it's a COVID situation, but I still feel that there's a lot of potential and a bright future in Indonesia properties as well.
Yeah. And I think from a perception perspective, now I've been to Jakarta many times, not many parts of the other parts of Indonesia. I think the perception is also that there's a lot of opportunities for development, right, in Indonesia, right? So I guess that is where you have seen the opportunity. How just very quickly, right? How important is looking out for opportunities in business? Since we're talking about this whole entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah,
how important is looking out for opportunities? Just a very quick question.
Oh, okay. So I think looking out for opportunities is what I did. For my journey, I foster it through friendship. Okay? So through friendship, you can understand your partners, your friends even better. Then you choose your partners. Okay. So to me, venturing out is really, of course, a basic trust with your partners, as well as your own judgment, So once your judgment and you have good friends, you have good partners, so, you decide to take the journey and venture out.
Yeah, awesome. And it goes back down to what you said earlier about friendship, right? So a lot of things actually starts from there. Okay, moving on. This is a very interesting question. I have to ask Pak Darmono, right? I have not gotten the privilege to read your book yet, but I understand that you have written a book. Can you share with us? Sorry, what is the title of your book?
Think big, start small, and move fast.
Think big, start small, move fast. Absolutely love that. Can you share with us one favorite chapter or page from your book? And what do you say about think big, start small, and act fast?
Well, in the page 60, I mentioned about two great people who influenced me how to think big, start small, and move fast. So number one is the President Sukarno, the founder of Indonesia. He was, to me, was the greatest dreamer in the world. He dreamed to get rid of the Dutch after 350 years of colony, and make a new nation from 17,000 islands with 700 ethnics, so many religions. And then we fought with bamboo runjing, right? It's with bamboo fighting against the nuclear weapon of the Allies. And he did it, right? So I admire him so much. And I think this is a good guidance for anybody who wants to realize their dream. Because through the dream, then you can do something great. To implement the dream is also a very tough one. So he was able to do that through the journey. So he influenced me a lot on how to think big and start small and move fast. And then when talking about faith, my great, I met this, or found this greatest spiritual teacher, which actually my father's guru. So that was again very interesting that from childhood, I learned about faith. And faith is not easy, you know, to build until you really become very acceptance to the fact that so many uncertainties in the world. Yeah, if you cannot accept things, then of course you become very stressful. Like today, with the pandemic, people become paranoid, don't know what to do. So the only way to face this kind of challenges must be to accept. Yeah, and then think always optimistically, so that you can keep going to meet or to implement the big thinking. If you think big, you know, you have many supporters. If you think small, who cares, right? So in order for us to have a lot of support from government, from business people, from the banks, from the customers, from our employees, from the community, or from the shareholders and stakeholders, we have to be able to sell a big dream so that we get a lot of support. So that is, I think, the most interesting chapter, which I mentioned for the younger generation. If you want to do something great, then it has to be a big dream. Because dream, you don't have to pay. You better dream big rather than dream small, right? Both you don't have to pay. So that is a favorite thing about thinking big, right? So dream big, free of charge, right? So, is that
I love how you say that, you know, thinking big is free of charge, right? Someone once shared with me, what's worse than not having a big dream is to have a small one and achieving it, right? Because if you have a small one, you go to achieve it, then, you know, you have just managed to just achieve a small dream, right? So thank you for that. That's very good in entrepreneur lessons here. And, you know, I love what you said about, you know, not only about having the big dream, but being able to sell that dream as well, right? And it goes back down to sales, right? In anything with regards to entrepreneurship or growing a business, you know, there are a lot of lessons here, everybody. I hope that you can gather all these lessons from what they are actually mentioning, right? Because I think through, you know, it's entrepreneurship, sorry, journey is never just about telling you what to do. Everyone has their own entrepreneurship journey, right? It's about lessons, really listening to somebody else's journey to really get back and how does it apply to you. Now, thank you so much for that part. Charmain, I would like to ask you a question with regards to what you said earlier. And about sales, because it kind of amazes me. Many of us, like for example, Chris, you know, dad was a lawyer, so he became a lawyer, right? And a lot of us follow a certain way due to our experience. But you went from gloves, making gloves, to starting a sales tool business. You were not not officially a salesperson. Why? Why? Can you elaborate more about why did you go into this CRM and the sales industry? I know you mentioned a little bit, but can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, okay. So I think you know, when we built my first gloves business, I always thought like I had this me and my friends in the startup world had this naive thought, right? If you build a great product, the product will move. But of course, when the sales numbers and the bank account just drops in numbers, the reality hits in. And it's funny because at that period of time, a lot of startups were just chasing funds. Nobody was really chasing revenue. It's very different from the SME world. But I've always believed that no matter what, being a business, it means to be profitable. But the question is how. And so in that curiosity, I think everybody starts with a curiosity like, how do people do it? Exactly do they do differently? And also realizing how valuable it is. Imagine if we are able to build a product that can help businesses drive sales, what more helping the people in in the other countries to make their own income, especially if they use technology, right? So I saw a lot of meaningful social impact behind it, about how a digital tool could be that enabler to help businesses drive technology, even help some of the people who are doing small businesses to drive their own income. So that meaning and that purpose helped me to get into the space. And I think one more thing that really stood out was in the gloves business is a seasonal business. It only sells when there's winter. And it sells, and my product was meant for really cold winter. So there's only like 4 months in a year that you can really sell. So because of that, I said I need to build a business that is not affected by seasons. And if you extrapolate it, it's not affected by recession, for instance. And at what point in life, in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, the question will always be how to drive more sales. I don't think this is something that businesses will stop thinking about. So looking at, and technology is also something that will advance, and you will advance even more when there's recession. So before I started school, I worked in a bank, and I saw really the ups and downs of financial crisis. And I said, if I build a business, it needs to be something that weather through that. So technology and sales.
Wow, awesome. I love how you tie it back to, I think in business, sometimes we got to look at a product. And, I remember once there was somebody that I knew, and he was very good at creating Christmas candy. Very good. Absolutely the best Christmas candy that I've ever tasted. The problem with this business, like what you're mentioning, is he can only sell it during Christmas. So throughout the whole year, he had no business, and he had to survive throughout the year only to make it to the next Christmas when he can sell. So it's a constant struggle for him in his business. And I guess that's what you're trying to say, right? In business, we got to look for products that can consistently be in a sales motion, right? For us to be able to sell in not every situation, but in a variety of better or more situations. Okay, now a question that goes out to the three of you guys. Now, the pandemic obviously has been around for the last almost 2 years. And I think this is a question that everybody is trying to figure out with regards to business. So can you share what has some of your plans, how has it changed because of COVID? And are there things that you have done during COVID? New businesses that you've done during COVID or anything, right? Let's go with you first, Chris.
Yeah, for this COVID situation, actually Malaysia now is still under total lockdown. So what can we do? Actually, we can't get into office at all. But what we can do is we have to rely more on technology, being that we are online all the time, okay? And I'm pushing for a lot of my work to be done through networking, in IT network. And also we will be doing more marketing with digital platforms. So, last time I used to go to Korea, Taiwan, China, Thailand, Indonesia for a lot of talk and giving a lot of talks. Now is more globalization through technology. So we can have Zoom meeting with all over, and especially with China now. There's a lot of parties that can participate in the discussion. It's not like last time we have to convene a meeting. So now the world has shrunk. And because of COVID, actually, a lot of this digitalization has accelerated. So the reliance on technology to push business is even more now. So internet is something that we cannot live without already.
Yeah, very true. I mean, one of my businesses is in a technology business, right? And for years, we were trying to convince people to go digital, and it was so difficult. We've only reached probably less than 20%. In one pandemic, the world has 90% gone into digital. So I think it's about really taking advantage of the situation. And we'll come back to technology questions a little bit. Charmain, what about you? What have you done during this COVID season?
Okay. Actually, for us, actually our businesses grew during COVID. Like what you both of you share, I share echo. Like last time we really need to convince businesses to go digital, but they were so used to like, oh, it's better to just meet them face to face, relationship sales. But in COVID, everybody's stuck at home, right? So people start to be okay and realize the need to generate leads online, being able to they realize the need to like use a tool to better manage their customer database, because how else can you track? It's no longer a paper pen whiteboard that you can draw the numbers or even write down the clients. So because of that, we saw a lot more demand coming in, and also for education, it gives us a very new paradigm, because we also build educational programs on how to help businesses drive sales digitally. Everybody was okay to learn on Zoom. They had no choice. Everybody was just forced to it. So I guess it really pushed the importance of why our business isn't even around in the first place. So I guess in that sense, we are just excited to see how else we can further grow. I mean, with COVID, without COVID, now that everybody understands the value of digital, the question is how do we make digital and technology make sense for them? Because I think everybody is still trying, a lot of us are trying to figure out like, how can I make this technology work for me?
Yeah, I think, I truly believe that, and I read it somewhere, right, that every business will become a tech business in the next 5 to 10 years. If we don't put tech in our business somehow, right, we may be obsolete in the next probably even 10 years, as soon as 10 years, right? But Darmono, what about in the world of property development? Has property development, was it really affected by COVID? What did you do with regards to your business? Any new things came up? But Darmono, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, there are many new things the property business actually can do. But the fundamental of this is we have to work together between the regulator, the operator, and also the society. You know what is so ironic is today there are so many properties built but empty, and there are so many people who have no place to stay. They cannot afford to buy. This probably can rent, but then people do not let people to rent those empty apartments and so on. So government has got the duty to make it happen, right? There is so much discrepancies and unfairness, and the pandemic actually remind us of how we can solve this problem for people who have no houses and they need houses. And people also begin to realize that actually ownership and the right to stay is more important, that you have the right to use, right, rather than to own. Many people are so wealthy that they could have many houses or investment in apartment and so on. And many people need those apartments, but the price is so high to rent out. So both lose. Now we suddenly realize that if we work together, if government step in with a good scheme, then something can happen. The banks now have too much money, but they do not want to lend money because the rate is so high. And again, government can step in rather than keep subsidizing, making people actually become too comfortable, right? Spoiled. So this money should actually be used for a better purpose. Instead of just giving away, then it has to be used to help people who actually need those places to be used. Then the business of property will go up. it possibly will multiply 5-10 times within a short period. But we all must realize there is something very wrong in this world with the regulation, not only in one country, but in many places. You know that 1 billion people are today very wealthy, and 7 billion people are in difficulties. If you are God, you're going to be happy?
Definitely not.
So this is the time when we have to work together. Government should not only do it alone. You have to talk with the business people, with the society. You have to listen. On the other hand, we have to support our government too. That we have to have a good dialogue to solve the problem together. Everybody is completely confused now what to do. Everybody is paranoid to the extreme. Instead of trying to have a dialogue, then, you know, we just try to keep ourselves safe, do not think of others. And actually, it's a great opportunity for business if we want to talk. Like this one, I accepted your invitation because I thought I could influence this young generation, right? Because the future is for the young generation, not like for old men like me, right? So the young generation must think completely different to the old people. Yeah. You have to think more of others, about the stakeholders, not just the shareholders. So many governments just think about the shareholders, do not think about the stakeholders. I do not need to mention about Singapore, but you know, you need to talk more about the stakeholders today, instead of the shareholders.
Yeah, I totally agree, right? I think there must be a way for governments and entrepreneurs, right? Because entrepreneurs really influence the economy. And without entrepreneurs, the economy cannot go up. But governments are there to set the policies and set guidelines to move forward. So that is really that's really a very, very good lesson there. Now, the next question I want to ask is to three of you guys. I'll start with you first, Charmain, right? So looking at your entrepreneurship journey today, and I'm going to go towards the next set of questions, which is on technology. But last question on this area. Reflecting back now, what would you say is your 3 key things that you would say is important for the success of business?
Okay. I would say that the first thing that it's very important, it's to never compromise on values and principles. To never compromise on why did we start this journey in the first place. Because I think there's a lot of times we can be very tempted by like, oh, what the market, you know, other opportunities. But actually, what's a lot more valuable, it's keeping to the why we start in the first place and what is the value we want to bring to the market. I think COVID has helped to show the importance of how important it is for companies to survive. They need to have strong foundation. You know, with strong foundation, they can constantly pivot or they can constantly realign and adapt. But without that, they can't. So I think that's one. I really echo what Pak Darmono talked about in terms of stakeholders. When I first started business, it was a lot about just the customers. But actually, the stakeholders lie beyond the customers. It lies in the existing customers. It lies in the market. It lies also in the team that we have. So I would say that thinking, every decision we make have to think from all this perspective is very important. The third thing, I think it's really about understanding that success is a journey and not a destination. There's a lot of times that, you know, like I think what Pak Dalmo said, you know, he wanted to impact the younger generation. For younger generations, I'm not sure if it's an age thing, but there is a drive to really want to succeed a lot and a very fast pace. But no success comes instantly and overnight. And even if a success comes overnight, it falls overnight. I think I learned it the hard way, unfortunately. But I guess if there's one thing that I've learned, it's really knowing that success is a journey, which means that we need to constantly learn together as a team, to constantly value add to the market based on what we set forth to. So I would say that it's the most important. So example, providing value in driving sales through education and technology is something that becomes the skeleton or like the guideline, the lamppost towards how we make decisions in the businesses to do.
Thanks, Charmain. What about you, Chris? What are your 3 key lessons about successful businesses?
Yeah, actually, like what Pa Darmono have said, uh, determination and the mindset is very important. Okay, so of course, in this day and age, younger generation, they want to move very fast. But I think we have to think in terms of what's the final end product, and the determination is not there. So I believe, maybe it's my age, uh, younger generation, they want to succeed a lot, but they are not putting enough effort. And they should really think big and move faster, right? I mean, I read Patamono's book. I think it's very true words. And I think that it should apply to more young people, where they can think big, but they never move, or they never move fast or move small. They never move. They just think big. Probably that will apply to YouTubers, but I'm not very sure, because for like what Charmain says, a lot of things you have to build through a journey. Okay, in this COVID situation that hit everyone, I think the more solid industries and the more solid businesses built up through a journey will be more resilient to all these uncertainties. So for me, I think the values are as per what Darmono have said, and also I think in this day and age, perseverance is very important. Perseverance. A lot of youngsters just give up almost instantly. So I believe they should instill more perseverance in their journey. And like what Charmain said, I'm also learning in every of my journey up until today, in every businesses that I undertake.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's always a learning journey, and we cannot stop learning. The only time we will stop learning is when we pass away, right? But always continue learning. But Darmono, what about you? What are your important lessons of building successful businesses?
Okay, you need to build trust. If you have trust from your customers, you have trust from your bankers, you have trust from your employees, that is number one in business. Build the trust. And then the rest is like what Charmain and Chris said. It's all about determination, and do not compromise with the principle and value. And this have to go along. But first, how you build your trust? Deliver your promise. Once you don't deliver what you promise, then you lose a lot. You lose your reputation. So that is very important. To build your trust, you have to remain healthy, right? You have to do a lot of sport. You have to have a good lifestyle, right? Otherwise, you cannot deliver your promise. Sometimes the marketing people promise too much, but they are not healthy. So very soon they cannot deliver what they promised, right? So that is very important, that you have to also remain healthy. And when you lose money, you lose a little. When you lose your trust, your reputation, you lose a lot. When you lose your health, you lose everything. So those are the 3 things people will have to remember in life.
So awesome. And without health, like what you said, right? We cannot. We say we want to give 100%, but if our health is not 100%, that is really, there's no way to do that, right? Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to go to some questions related to technology now, right? Melvin, I saw your question. I'm gonna ask your question in a little while. But first of all, I would like everybody to do this poll. This next poll is a very simple poll. Can we have the poll up so that I would like everybody on the call here to do that poll? All right, do we have that poll? Okay, so if everybody has seen that, there's a second poll that's coming up. Please take a couple of seconds now. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds. Answer the poll that is up on your screen now. Right, the first question is, are you currently using any digital tools to drive more sales? Second question is, are you using any digital means to generate leads for your business? And thirdly, are you using any form of digital tools to drive better customer engagement? Again, we wanted to find out a little bit about the audience here today and how you guys have been, how are you guys adopting digital technologies? I'm going to give you guys another 10 seconds to answer, right? I see the numbers coming up, right? Another 5 seconds. Okay. All right. And we are done. Okay, good. Okay. So that's it. Okay, good. Now, I want to ask you guys some technology questions, but before I ask, I want to make sure that we answer the audience question. I'm just going to go straight to you, Charmain, for this, right? So the question is, for an entrepreneur who is under 30, and you've just kind of just went past that journey because you are, almost going past your 28, 29 now, right? Yeah. So what do they need to prepare? Do you need a lot of capital? Need a lot of investor to be successful? Is that the only way?
Okay. I started business when I was in school with like a piggy bank of like savings of 10K from all my pocket money. So I think that's all I had when I started like winter gloves for touchscreen device, even though we had to manufacture in China. I think if there's one thing, I think to kickstart a business is actually to be able to hustle. It's like, okay, you cannot be thin skinned. You really need to go out and knock doors, make phone calls to get sales in, or even to get funds in if you want to build a product. So what do we need to prepare? I think as long as you're clear in what's your business plan, and always start with prototyping first and test the market. So I remember when I did my first gloves product, we sold out our first batch in like less than 2 months. So it was a very strong validation. That's why the venture capital came in within like 6 months. So I think that's really, I think a lot of time value grow value. So if we think that we can sell paper dragons, I think no longer after pandemic, paper dragons no longer sell. What sells is value. So when we are able to show value, it grows.
Yeah, awesome. And what you said, right? And sometimes it's the market that drives your product. You don't drive the product. The market does. Because why? Because the market is the one that's buying your product, not you. You're not going to create a product for yourself to buy, right? Okay, let's go to some technology questions here. But Darmono, I want to ask you, because you have very established companies. In your companies, how has the company adopted technology?
Well, again, this has to be also market driven. And my staff, of course, all the people there, they come from different ages. So they have to adopt on their own what is needed by them and also the market. But if it is for me personally, before the pandemic, I never bought laptop. I never used laptop. My staff did it all for me. But now suddenly working from home, I have to buy a laptop. So it's a technology, right? So now all the people who used to have the conveniences of delegating all the things to their staff, they have to start also now mastering the art of using the technology like this digital technology. So it's a good stuff. We start learning, right? But again, as far as the company is concerned, then we have to adopt very quickly how we can use of the technology to improve our services, to improve our sales, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and I think it goes back down to what you said earlier, right? Move fast. If the market moves this way, we can't just sit still and just say, okay, is it going to move this way? We got to move fast, right? Chris, going back to you now. Your business is so regulated. It's law, right? It's about regulation. How does your company able to use technology in a business which is so traditional and so regulated?
Okay, actually for all these years, up until today, Malaysia property law, what we call conveyancing laws, are very ancient. It's a dinosaur type of procedure. So whereby we still have to fill in manual forms. We have to submit to the respective land officers at each district. And all these are very manual work, okay? So for law being to incorporate into technology is not an easy feat, okay? For a very simple example, I mean, in Singapore, all your NRIC, that means
I see.
your
Identity
IC
card.
number, so to speak, is all the same. The format is the same. But for Malaysia, okay, the IC number format is different. Even the font is different. Okay, so that's why in Singapore, all the government processes can streamline into scanning technology. Okay, you can scan and you don't have to fill in. It's not a manual job. But in Malaysia, even the IC is not standard. So you can't do any scanning technology at all. So we still have to revert back to the old system of filling up and manual and whatnot. Okay, so the challenge for me was in this day and time is that I try to do a lot of research, and through technology, I think technology has advanced leaps and bounds now. So I have tried to incorporate all this manual work into a system, and we have successfully created our own system. So our own system are able to track and follow, and also to create the documents in an instant. So this will minimize a lot of mistakes, and the process is almost next to instant. So what I'm saying is the legal profession is very old. I mean, the challenge here is you must know your profession, you must know your job to the nitty-gritty, then you will be able to incorporate into technology. But first of all, lawyers are not very technological advanced creatures. So you yourself must get to learn. Like Darmono, he has to buy a laptop, and I have to learn a lot of technology platforms, apps, and I'm very open to a lot of new apps and platforms like QuickDesk, to help to push sales. Of course, I will look into QuickDesk and see how it push my sales and help in my business. But I think I learned a lot of technology, a lot of technology platforms, and I hope one day maybe I can incorporate AI into my business if possible.
Yeah, awesome. Right. So the app that you're talking about, Chris, is the technology you're talking about? Is it already? Have you already launched it?
Yes. In fact, because of COVID, I have more time, and I managed to quicken the process, and I will be launching it in July. So with a few days time. So I think it's the first in Malaysia, if I'm not wrong, because I haven't heard of any legal firm doing this, and I don't think it's that easy to do it because I have spent quite a lot of years doing it. So finally, I get to succeed in doing this. So I hope I can push technology further in our legal profession.
Oh wow, that sounds so exciting.
Thank you.
Charmain, going to you now. Obviously, you are in the technology business, right? So I don't have to preach to you about how you're using technology in your business, right? But I'm sure you understand the industry a lot better. So given a magic wand, what technology do you think is important? And there's immediately applicable or anything for the business?
Okay. So I'm going to go back to my belief. I believe that at the end of the day, for anything to work, it starts with the word called connectivity, right? It's about stakeholder management, it's connectivity. So within the team, I think I've been very blessed because we started, since we started, we always have like both teams in Singapore and Malaysia. So we have always used this app called Slack to communicate internally. I know some companies use Skype, MSN, or even WhatsApp, right? I think the ability to use technology to communicate effectively, I think that's something that is the most important. Yeah, and I think, for us, we have really implemented a lot for internal communications. Also, of course, with communicating our client, keeping them updated, what's the growth in our business, how our product have evolved, of course, with our own CRM. And I think the last thing that it's really important is, at the end of the day, I think technology is just an enabler. The goal is knowing what is the business objective that we hope to achieve and how technology fits in. Right? So if there's a magic wand, I think just effective technology for communications. And even like doing Zoom like that is communications, right? It's just that we are doing it through video.
Right. Communications, yeah, very important. And now we are kind of like reducing the lines between borders and countries, right? But Darmono, how about you, right? You've run this business traditionally for so long. What do you think? Some technology that you think is important that will help you? But Darmono, your mic again.
Yeah, sorry. I suppose
Correct.
the word communication is the key, right?
Hmm.
Now, I don't think online can do wonder for everything. We need offline too. So I'm hoping really that the artificial intelligence would be able to solve this problem so that instead of we are sitting like here online, my image will be in Singapore with you, right? So like Star Trek. If that can happen, I think we will solve the problem. We can do offline, online, switch off, switch on, right? But this is I think the book was written by Yusuf Hafafi, or the one about Homo sapiens, Homo deus.
Yes.
I think if you
Homo
think about
sapiens.
that one, I think Homo sapiens may really be disappeared with this kind of online. Children have no face-to-face education. They stay at home all the time. And people become more frightened to shake hands with each other, to hug their own children. So this is bad, right? And bad for business too. So you young people with a very ingenious mind, you have to see that the artificial intelligence more closely. How we can solve this problem with magic wand, you said? Magic wand, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So I think what the Homo deus idea must be pursued very, very vigorously so that we can solve this offline-online problem.
Yeah, I totally agree, right? It's a scary world also, right? Technology is scary in a way, right? Because we don't know that there's so much possibilities. Yeah, but yeah, it is. Okay, so next question I wanted to ask is so how, and I'll go to you first, Charmain, because you are in this line of work, right? How do you think the pandemic has changed the way you do sales? When we can't go out, so Pak Darmono just mentioned, right? There must be a way to do some form of online and offline. We can't just be sitting at home and just see each other. But how has that changed? How do we do sales when we can't go out? Sales is all about relationships, right?
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting because I mean when we look at sales, we look at it from the whole process, how we generate leads, how we reach out, how do we follow up. And I guess for us, I mean we are very blessed because we have our own systems to really ensure that the leads generated are constantly and immediately follow up with an automation. And not just about following up, but following up intentionally. That means we make sure that the follow-ups are personalized. Like a lot of you who sign up for this event today, you guys got to see our emails, get a confirmation through emails, and all these are all automated. So I guess one, it's really about having a system to keep track. And I mean, as a CRM business, we ensure that we know our customer. What are they asking for? What are their interests? So that I could build like Singapore Malaysia team and we can still work cohesively together because the data can be flowed just by clicking on a button on cloud. So I think that's the beauty of having sales. And I think one more thing that's really interesting, it's about how do you bring certain soft skills into technology. Now, the goal, of course, I really echo, and that's something that we're looking into, which is how can we use AI for that, right? How do you hybridize offline and online? For now, we make sure that they feel personable, like we WhatsApp them. I think it starts with the mindset of being customer centric. We always think, okay, what is the customer needing? How can we solve their problem? How can we communicate with them effectively? Now, next layer, I can't meet them face to face. How do I translate this digitally? Be it through email, WhatsApp, telephony. So it's really using multiple touch points to engage with a client to know that they are well taken care of. And because they know they're well taken care of, they trust us, and that's why they buy from us. So I guess that's really how we use using CRM, omni-channel communication, and of course our day-to-day Zoom.
Yeah, amazing. I think it's really about automating, and I caught the word automation in your sentence, right? And that's what the digital world will help us, right? is it really going to automate the whole process, right? Now, we're almost coming to the end of our webinar today, but I want to make sure that I answer some of the, I want to bring up some of the questions that you guys have put in the Q&A as well. Okay, we have a question here. I'm not sure whether it's to a specific person, but anyone who would like to answer, I'll point to someone. Do you agree that to sustain a business, we must change? No change means failure. So to make a business very successful, we almost need to predict the future. But Darmono, I think this goes back to what you mentioned earlier about being able to change fast. What do you think about the answer to this?
Well, I think predicting a future is something which everybody loves to have. But then you can remain to be a fortune teller all the time. So what you can do is make a plan, right? So to meet this kind of change, you need to make a plan. And then you join me with my plan. I have a plan for the future, not from prediction or not from fortune teller, but I have a plan. And then if you believe in my plan, you believe in my dream, you can join me to reach that plan. So this is how to actually influence people who do not have any ideas, but they have possibly certain strong points. So let's work together. And you don't have any capital. I have capital, for example. You don't have any knowledge. I have knowledge. You have no connection. I have connection. So let's work together. That is better than keep making a prediction. You will end up making prediction every day. So we must have a plan. If the plan is a good one, together we can achieve it. So that would be my answer to about prediction in the future.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, yeah, that's a really great answer. Okay, so let me go to the next question. This goes back down to you, Charmain. I guess it ties down to the earlier what you mentioned. So Charmain, you mentioned that many startups prefer chasing for funds instead of revenue, and I noticed it too. Is this right or wrong? What do you prefer?
Okay, I don't think in business there's something called right or wrong. I think is the only thing that is wrong is if you sell without value adding. And so I'll go back to that question, which I think every business has different philosophy, but in my belief, in my opinion, the best way to raise funds is after you have proven value. So of course at the startup area, we were all taught how to sell a story, but it doesn't sustain. So what if I bring in my first round of funding, but I don't bring in the revenue? Then you're just bringing yourself additional stress along the way to try to raise more funds or to survive or to even answer to your first investor. So I think always focus on, so the idea of bringing revenue also ties in with the fact that people only pay you when they see value. So revenue only comes in when they see value. And what's more a better way, instead of pushing yourself out to investors, let investors come to you because they see the value you deliver and they see the potential in your business. So that's my own opinion.
Yeah, and I look at my own personal journey as well, right? It's you know, the whole asking for investor and funding and things like that, it's a very strange world. It's a strange game, right? And it's a game which not everybody can play. I'm always in this strong belief is that when you build a business which gives value, like what you said, Charmain, people will come, right? People will come to you, people will buy from you, and there's really no need to go out and look for investors when you have that kind of funds. Okay, all right. Next question we have here is a very general question here. We'll take about the last two questions here. How can we use technology to manage change? Chris, what do you think?
Okay, recently I have learned there's a new and upcoming technology, and now it's already here. It's VM machines. So actually, I find that if you incorporate VM into your servers, okay, you can keep track of absolutely every movement in your office network. So I feel that actually now in this technology world, is moving so fast that VM has come up to be another new subject and totally new technology, which is more cost efficient, and also it can manage documents, manage people, manage your organization much, much better. So to me, it's an endless journey of learning in technology. And it just never stopped to amaze me that how these technologies can evolve. You know, one server can become 10 servers. So
Yeah.
how good is that?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
changes in our businesses, I feel that you can use a lot of platforms, maybe QuickDesk, if you are in the sales region, and a lot of other SAP, Microsoft, all these are good tools that you can incorporate into your business, and these can manage your business without a single fault and to the accuracy of when is what time did your employee log into their computers. So of course, this is good for the bosses, but it's also good for the employees because then the bosses will know that you are actually working, and this can distinguish from those that are not really working. So to me, technology has changed and can help change your businesses and also manage your businesses very well.
I agree. And it's about efficiency, right? And it's about efficiency of time. We all have limited time. So if there's technology that can help us to make our time more effective, why not? Right? We can do more sales because we've used our time more effectively, then why not? Right? Okay, all right. We're coming towards the end of our webinar here. I want to just go to our speaker panel here today to answer one final question here for us. And it's, this whole webinar today, other than technology, is really understanding about entrepreneurship journey. And I'll wrap up and I'll summarize what you've all said here. But one key thing to, in your business, or one key advice, whether it's technology or non-technology, what is the one final thing that you say with regards to this entrepreneurship journey to owners, to leaders listening today? What should they do moving forward? Let's go to you first, Pak Darmono.
Well, I think there is nothing new about this one. It's always that when you do business, you must have a strong differentiation. So if you have a strong differentiation, then your ability to compete will be great. But then having said that, when you have a strong differentiation, you still need to be able to implement it. So that requires capital, that requires skill, experience, knowledge, and courage, and also luck. So these are the important factors to be entrepreneurs. And it's always like this before, now, and also I think in the future. It's about a strong differentiation. Do we need capital? If we have strong differentiation, we don't need our own capital. We can always get somebody to finance it, because with this strong differentiation, it's feasible, the demand is stronger than supply, then the bank will be queuing to finance this project, especially if you have a capable CEO to run it with credibility, with support from shareholders who have the ability to pay. Okay? Because the bank normally do not give loan to people who only have the willingness to pay. They always give loan to people who can pay, right? So that's important to understand. So if you have no capital, you need to find a friend who have the money. He may not have a willingness to pay, right? Because he will ask the CEO to pay, right, from the profit, right? So that is something which you see, somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur, then you must understand that number one, you must have a strong differentiation. Okay. You have to be able to be sharp in seeing the opportunities. How to see opportunity? Opportunity must be seen from the problems in the market. If you have a problem in the market, that is an opportunity. So now with the pandemic, there are so many opportunities. So I think that is something to motivate people during this sad situation, the pandemic.
Yeah, As we always say, that every opportunity always presents, every crisis always presents 10 times more opportunities. Chris, going to you. What is your one key advice moving forward?
My main key advice is actually to embrace technology as a journey of learning. There are too many things evolve, and technology definitely can help your businesses. But getting the right tools and knowing the technology that can help you definitely will enhance your business. Okay, whether it be sales, management, or monitoring even your sales team. So to me, to embrace technology, you yourself as an entrepreneur, you must immerse yourself into it. You must bring yourself to understand it. Okay, it's not that easy. It takes time, but it takes a lot of patience. So to me, it's still a journey that I'm still going on. And I quite like the journey because every day I learn new things. Okay, but I must bring myself to learn it. So as an entrepreneur, I think I'm still moving on, and I'm still learning from my friends and also from Darmono and my partners. So technology has definitely helped me quite a lot, and I'm still moving on it. So I would say everyone just embrace technology, especially with this COVID time, where personal relationship has a bit of difficulty, like what Darmono has said. We can't even shake hands now. So it's true technology that we will showcase our skill, our value, and a lot of things about our business.
Charmain, what about you? What do we have to do next?
Okay, so I guess for me, I'll circle back to the first answer in the first few questions. I think the key first thing is to have faith. I believe that in every crisis there is an opportunity, and I think it has been presenting itself. There is two ways to look at it, right? I love playing poker, and they always say it's really, you cannot choose the cards you have, but you can choose what you want to do with the deck of cards you have. And so to add on to that, I think to choose what to do with the deck of cards is really being in alignment to the vision you have. So like adapting, right? So being able to adapt, and to add on to what Chris said, adapting with technology. There's this one phrase that says, in future, all businesses will be a tech business. And I think it's going to be really real, right? Be it whether in the property space, in the law space, be it even in the education space, all business will be a tech business. So how can you adapt to it in alignment to your vision? And there's so many opportunities in there. There's still so many untapped spaces that we can leverage on.
Yeah, there is really a lot of opportunities out there, especially not only in our own country, it's about global as well, right? So I want everybody here to take the next couple of poll questions for me before I say a couple of words. So can we have the next poll, please? Right. So the next poll, I wanted to ask you guys, right? So is any one of you here interested in scaling your business digitally and globally? Help us to answer this question now. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to do so, right? And I wanted to share with you, some key opportunities that you can check out in our panelists here. Right? Any one of you guys interested in scaling your business digitally and globally? Right, I'm going to give you guys another 10 seconds to answer the question. Right, 10 seconds, 7, 6, 5, 4, all right, 3, 2, okay, all right, awesome. Thank you very much for answering the question. So, I wanted to thank you guys. If you guys want to connect with Charmain, Chris, and Pak Darmono, right? I wanted to share with you guys how you can do so. So for those of you who have been with us for the last 90 minutes, if any one of you guys want to get a free consultation with QuickDesk, and like what Charmain says, they're in the business of helping sales teams become more efficient, right? And through their CRM system. So to help you map out the workflow to increase your sales digitally, what we need you guys to do is scan this QR code now, right? And someone be in touch, and they will be able to offer you a free consultation of that. And if any one of you wants to do this, right? Do answer yes or no in this next poll here, right? So this next poll is up. Answer yes or no if you want somebody to be in touch, right? I'm going to give you guys a couple of moments to do this. All right, I'm going to give you guys another 5 to 10 seconds to do this. If you guys would like to have QuickDesk to be in touch, just answer yes in this poll. Okay, I'm going to give you guys another couple of seconds. And if you can also scan the QR code, and that will be also the same way that you can be in touch, right? The next thing, right, is if you guys want to be in touch with, can we have the next slide, please? Yes, if you want to be in touch and looking at the properties that Jababeka has to offer, right, you can scan this QR code, or you can take this next poll here. If any one of you guys would like to be in touch with Jababeka, with Darmono's team, right, type yes in the chat window, right, and then someone will be in touch as well. Okay, I'll give you guys another 5 seconds to do so. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much for that. And last but not least, Chris has announced earlier that it's going to be something very exciting that he's going to be launching, right? With regards to conveyance, and how he's going to be revolutionizing and speeding up, right, the way that things will move along in this area. So if you would like to get in touch with Chris and Tia Noordin, please scan the QR code and type in and answer yes in the poll question now. All right. Okay. Okay, I'll give you guys another couple of seconds to do that. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for coming on today. I wanted to say a very big thank you to our speakers, right? Pak Darmono, thank you for joining us all the way from Jakarta. Thank you, Chris, joining us all the way from Johor. And thank you, Charmain, joining us all the way from Singapore. The beauty of technology allows us to, have these sessions no matter where we are in the world.